So are you a first-time home buyer, or maybe it's the first time buying a home in a while, because you know that's not really an everyday transaction? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over the people who are or at least can be involved in a real estate transaction, specifically for New Hampshire. It applies to most states, but this is just specifically for New Hampshire because other states do have some other people. Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Moynihan, and I'm a real estate agent and investor based out of Keene, New Hampshire. So if you're someone that's looking to buy in New Hampshire or sell, or even if you just have a real estate related question, feel free to reach out. Contact info here and of course down below. Any way works best for me, and I'd be more than happy to help. But without further ado, let's dive into this topic and let you know who you will be dealing with during a real estate transaction. So of course, there's a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction, and who you're dealing with can depend on a few different variables. Like if you're going to be buying cash, or if you're going to be financing to buy the house, if you're going to have your own buyer's agent, or if you're going to use a listing agent, if you're going to hire a home inspector or waive the home inspection. So there are a decent amount of things that can be variable, but I'm going to go over the core 7 that will usually be in every transaction if you are going through a lender and going I would say the most traditional path to buying a house. So first is of course going to be your buyer's agent. And this is going to be the agent that is solely representing you in the transaction and will always have your best interest in mind during the transaction. They will be your go-to contact for the whole process. And if you have any questions, even if it's not related to the certain buying area, if it's something to do with lending or home inspection, they'll be able to point you in the right direction, or at least get you the contact to help you solve that problem and get you moving to the next step. And as a buyer, you don't actually pay the buyer's agent. This comes out at the closing table and it's out of the seller side. So that's where it gets split up between the listing agent and the buying agent. So the other side of the transaction is the listing agent. And this is the agent that has a contract with the seller to sell the property at a certain fee. And that is usually a percentage of the sales price. And that is the part that does get split up at closing, and part goes to the listing agent, part goes to the buying agent. Now, as a buyer, you could use a listing agent technically, but they always have to keep the seller in mind before you, because that is who they had the contract with first. So they're always going to be looking out for the seller and their best interest. So that's why it's always a good idea to find you a buyer's agent and someone you like to work with, as you're going to be in contact with them a lot. And the selling agent, if you do have your own buyer's agent, the only time you're probably not going to actually have to deal with them straight up, it's going to be through your agent. And the only time they really come into play is during negotiations. So when you're first putting in an offer, or once you kind of come down to like home inspection, and if there's any negotiations after that point. Next, we have your loan officer, and this is going to be your main point of contact to secure your mortgage. So they're going to be the one that's actually working on the lending side and working more with your financial statements and going over your W-2s, or just how you make your income, and to make sure you qualify for the loan and that you are a safe borrower. And of course, with this, you can pick whoever you want to be your loan officer and whatever company you want to go through to get your loan. As a buyer, especially if you're a first-time buyer and you do find yourself a buyer's agent, a lot of times they'll have like a preferred or go-to lender that they're just really close with and work with a lot, so that they know their deadlines and they know that they're actually a good lender that will respond on time and get you to the closing table on time, because that is the biggest thing, to get you there on time and actually have you close so that you can get your keys to your new house. Next, we have the title company. And this is more of a behind the scenes type thing, because the title company is going to be in charge of doing a title search on the property that you are purchasing. So they're going to make sure that there's no outstanding liens or mortgages on your property, because you want to make sure that you're buying a good, clear and free property and there's nothing attached behind the scenes. And this is done, of course, to protect your investment, because you don't want to buy it and then have someone be like, well, this property actually has this lien against it and you need to pay it, or something bad tends to happen. So you want to make sure you get a good title company. And they're kind of a behind the scenes thing, where also in New Hampshire, the title company is also the place that will conduct the closing and help you actually get your keys and do the closing. So our next is a home inspector. And of course, this is an optional thing if you actually want to get a home inspection or not. I always suggest that you do, because It's like buying a used car. You kind of want to know what you're buying and have someone that actually knows what they're looking at go through it. And the home inspector will go through it from the roof all the way down to the basement and everything in between. And the home inspector is usually more of a jack of all trades where he knows a little about a lot. But if he does see something that looks concerning, he will mark it down in a report, which is a super detailed report that you will get. And if there's something that he says that maybe you should have a professional look more into, that's where you would hire an industry professional to come take a better look at it, give you a better analysis of it, and maybe the cost of repairing it, where you could go back to the seller if you wanted to for negotiations and figure out how you want to go about solving that problem. Now, home inspectors are an out-of-pocket expense, and around where I live in New Hampshire, it's about $500 to $600, depending on a few things like the square footage of the house, the age of the house, if it's a multi-family, if it's a single family. So there's a few variables, but it's usually about $500 to $600. And this is non-refundable. So if you were to get a home inspection and say they found something major, and instead of even wanting to go to negotiations and figure that out, you just say, nope, I'm out of here. I don't want to continue with this purchase. I want to back out of the contract, which you can do if you have a home inspection and you actually have the contingency for the home inspection. So if you did that, you would be able to back out of your contract, but you would not get your $500 to $600 that you're paying your home inspector. But like I said, I always suggest this because this is usually going to be your biggest asset that you have in the biggest purchase of your life. So $500 to $600 to make sure that you're buying something that's actually worth buying is a very good investment. Next, we have an insurance company, of course, to get home insurance because you're buying, again, probably the biggest asset of your life. So like a car, you want to insure it. You want to make sure it's protected, especially from like fires or anything like that. You want to make sure you have good coverage. So you want to do some shopping around, make sure you can get a good rate, and do a little research on this because, like I said, big asset. You want to make sure you have good insurance just in case of an emergency. And last but not least, out of these 7, it's the home appraiser. And this is actually someone that is a third party that is usually hired by the lender to come out and kind of do an assessment of the property. Because as the bank, they're taking a risk lending you this money to get you a house. So they want to make sure they're lending on something that is worth what you are trying to pay for it. So the appraiser will basically come out and almost do like a home inspection. He's going to go through everything head to toe and make sure the condition of the property is good and actually financeable so that you can get your mortgage secured and make sure it appraises or worth what you are willing to pay for it. So those are the 7 main parties involved while purchasing a home. And I really hope that if you have purchased a home before, that this kind of refreshed your memory on the people involved and who you have to kind of stay in contact with during this whole process. And especially if you're a first-time home buyer, it's good to know what to expect when you're going into this process because it can be daunting. It's a big thing. And once you actually get the offer in, all these pieces kind of get moving pretty quickly. And of course, the real estate agent, this is their job. So it's people they deal with all the time. They know what's going on. But sometimes as the buyer, you can kind of get lost and sometimes you don't want to ask, hey, well, what's actually going on here? So it's good to know before going into this who to expect you're going to be talking to and how to deal with them. And again, I really hope this clarified who you will be interacting with during the home buying process, and hopefully you learned something new or at least refresh your memory. And if you did, I'd love for you to leave a like on this video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as I do release these weekly real estate related videos. And of course, if you are someone that's looking to buy or sell in New Hampshire, or even maybe you just have a question on this video, my contact info is right here and down below. Don't hesitate to reach out. I always love helping people, especially in real estate. It's my passion. I love helping people through their problems and figure out how they can get in a house or sell a house. So until next time.